Hello everybody, just getting my camera adjusted here. Happy Wednesday. It's time for another Patron Portrait live stream. I always look forward to these with you guys. Hello, I am here. I'm not just talking. I am here. I am present. All right. We have a lovely, very grumpy Steve McQueen here that we're going to be working on today. Going to be drawing Frank Bullitt from Bullitt. All right. I got a brand new Montee pencil, guys. I finally retired the one that's been hanging on by a thread for the last few live streams. So now we should be good. I think this one's a little tougher actually. I've used it a little bit, like sketching this out and everything, and it's sharpening very well, so hopefully it won't break as easily as the other one did. All right, let me check my feed here, make sure everything's good. Okay. Chat is here. Hello, Alan, welcome. All right. Time to get started. Hello, Michael. The thing I got so excited about when I started sketching this one in was drawing Steve McQueen's eyes, because they are just so piercing. So I am showing no self-restraint and going straight for the eyes today. It has been a week, guys, and it is only Wednesday. I haven't posted it anywhere else yet, but it's over on my Instagram if you've seen it there. But remember how I said I was taking this past Film Friday off because I had an event I was going to on Saturday? Yeah. First ever event disaster I have ever had. We may or may not have survived an F1 tornado. I don't know, because things were so crazy in the moment. But it was an outdoor event, and pop-up storm came and blew my tent away and destroyed my banners. And I was just scrambling to save as much product as I could in the torrential downpour. It was bad. I recorded like a 10-minute video about it, and I actually did have some footage. So I might post that on YouTube. If not on YouTube, I'm at least gonna post it on Patreon so you guys can hear the full story of what happened, but it was not good. It's not good. It wasn't until after the fact that a lady came over and was talking to us, and she was like, "Did you see that stuff swirling?" Like, I thought it was an F1 tornado, and I'm like, I don't know, honestly. I had my head down the whole time because I was shielding my face with one hand, and my other arm was full of stuff that I was carrying, trying to run back to the car with it. So I didn't really have a chance to look up at what was happening around me, but it was a crazy wind, so I cannot dispute her claim. Uh, yeah, it was quite something. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, it was not fun. And I'm glad I was able to save as much, like I was able to save all of my originals, which was my number one concern. Because I had a lot of these, like these live stream portraits with me and other portraits I had done, and I was like going to cry if those were destroyed, but I saved them first and they're okay. And I was able to save a lot of my prints as well, but some were lost. And I mean, I really needed to get new banners anyway, so this will force me to do that. But yeah, those aren't cheap. I think they were like 120 each. And then there was the tent, which I had not had for that long, and so I was not happy to lose that. The tent was probably, I can't remember, but it was over $200. So I did lose a lot of money's worth that day instead of making money, which was the plan. I hated it because it's at one of my favorite places to do events every year. And I have 2 more events there coming up in October, which hopefully will go much better than this one. Oh gosh, I've been going there my whole life, like as an attendee, but last year was my first year there as a vendor. It was all great last year, but this year did not start off well. I felt the most bad for a lady who had like all of her product was wooden signs. And I was like, those are probably all ruined. Like, it was awful. And so I don't know how much money she lost. And then one lady's tent literally blew over into the cornfield, so she won't be getting that tent back. I'll tell you, I've never had an experience where I sort of felt like I was in a sandstorm because there was dirt and dust blowing across the road into my eyes. Like, it took me forever afterwards to get it out of my eyes. So it wasn't just rain blowing into my eyes, it was all that stuff blowing across. And that's why I was like, you know what, lady, you may be right about that little twister coming through, because that was something. But when you're in the moment and you're like, okay, I don't see a giant tornado coming to kill me, that was just not in the forefront of my mind. I was just in survival mode, like, save my stuff. No, it's not, Michael. Definitely not easy. My parents were there with me because they often help me at these events that I do. It's very hard to do them by yourself with all the stuff you have to deal with. But I remember my mom yelling at me because my mom's like holding one tent pole and my dad's holding another one. And there was some other lady who was helping and another guy who came over and was holding another tent pole. And while they were trying to hold the tent down, because, you know, tents like turn into sails when there's like crazy wind. And I remember my mom yelling at me, "Get in the car." In other words, save yourself. And I was like, I didn't even say anything back. I was like, no way. I am not getting in the car. I am saving as much as I can. I mean, if I hadn't, like, probably half of my stuff would have been destroyed because they were dealing with the tent. Hey, Gary. Yeah, Alan, at the very least, it was a straight line wind. At the very least. It came out of nowhere. Like, you'll see in the footage, I got a shot of the windmill. I was filming because I was like, wow, that wind. And like all of a sudden the windmill started going crazy. No sooner had I started filming the windmill than this huge straight line wind comes across the road, and that was what just wiped out all the tents. And then it like kept up for another, like, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes maybe. And then after that, it just rained heavy and thunder and lightning and all that for probably like 30 minutes after that. So we were just sitting in the car waiting for it to blow over so we could pick up the pieces, basically. Basically, it was a rough Saturday. We were just in shock, kind of like when you get excited and plan and prepare for something and then you go and it just is a complete disaster. You're kind of just left in shock. Like, what just happened? Alan, I'm sorry. If it makes you feel any better, I'm right there with you. It's been a year of ups and downs. Like, there's been some big highs, but there's been some low lows. I don't even know if like this is the best place or time to announce this, but I mean, I was gonna have to do it sooner or later anyway. I will be making a post on Patreon, but as of September, I am probably going to be cutting back to 3 movie reactions per month instead of 4 because I just financially can't afford it right now because the honest truth is I'm actually losing money doing reactions right now. Um, because I have to pay my wonderful editor Daniel, who absolutely deserves what I'm paying him. Uh, but paying that, I'm just not making enough off of YouTube and Patreon to keep that up because I'm losing money off of it instead of making money, which is, what you want to be doing. And cutting back to 3 per month instead of 4 will help a lot. So unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to do that. I mean, I just have to be getting a lot more numbers on YouTube to make up that loss, and that's not happening right now. Like, my channel's always growing, but it's just not growing fast enough at the moment to keep up with that cost. So, unfortunately, I'll still be live streaming every week, but gonna have to cut back a little on the reactions, unfortunately, because it's been a really tough year. That's cool, Gary, that you got to see Bullitt at the theater when it came out. That would have definitely been a fun one to see in the theater. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hate to do it, but it's just, you can only lose money for so long before you're like, okay, I gotta make some budget cuts here to, you can't keep losing money uh, on an endeavor like that because it's gonna hurt you. So I tried to stick it out for a while and be like, maybe it'll pick up. But I mean, like I said, my channel is always growing. It's just the problem is you have to grow exponentially to really increase your income on YouTube. And so it would have to go up a lot. Like, basically, to be specific, you make between like $3 and $4 per thousand views on YouTube. They don't pay you a lot, so you have to get thousands and thousands of views to really make a difference in what you're making. I'm sure they did, Gary. I don't remember anything specific in elementary school, but yeah, I mean, when you're a lefty, you tend to hold things incorrectly, as they say, which I'm like, is it incorrect? Does it really matter? Yeah, I mean, they tried to teach all of us how to hold our pencil correctly in elementary school. Uh, and I was like, no, this does not work for me. I tried to hold it the quote unquote correct way, and it just felt weird, so I didn't do it. And then eventually they just left me alone about it. No one ever said anything at college, for sure. No one cares at that point how you hold your pencil. I mean, what can I say? I'm just a lefty living in a righty's world. I mean, you just get used to it pretty early on. You don't think about it. Like, the desks are designed for right-handed people, so like I never had the armrest that everybody else did. You don't think about it. You just kind of you adapt. And really, if you're a lefty, it's a huge advantage in sports, which I did sports, so I was very glad to be a lefty because I played basketball and volleyball, and it was a big advantage in both of those because people don't expect you to go to the left. They expect you to go to the right. They're not used to you going the other way, and so it always takes people by surprise. Yeah, Michael, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Gary, I kind of played two different positions. Sometimes I was in post, and really, I kind of started at the post and then I moved out to the wing. I was not the point guard, never the point guard, but I was out on the wing on the left side. So that was where I was most of the time. Started in the post, but then I was shooting well enough to move out to the wing. There were other people who we moved down to the post. No, Tyrone, I'm not quitting. I'm just cutting back. I'm going to cut back probably to 3 reactions per month instead of 4, because long story short, I am losing money instead of making money, and so I can't keep doing that. It's financially unwise. I figure you guys appreciate transparency, so basically the short version is I'm paying $1,000 a month to have my videos edited and put out there, and I'm only making about 700. So I am having a net loss of about 300 every month, which is just not good. So I would have to make a solid $300 more to just break even. So you see my conundrum. I kept it up for a while, hoping that like the money would go up enough to where I could maintain it, but I was like, I don't see it happening, so we're gonna have to cut back for a while until things like exponentially grow. Sorry, this Conte pencil is really loud. I feel like it's louder than my other one. It's tough, Michael. It's tough because you want to watch things that like nobody's reacting to. You want to watch some out of the box stuff, but at the same time, it's like you get punished for that because you have to watch at least some things that are very popular, or your channel's not going to grow. You're not going to make enough funds to maintain the channel. So that's why a lot of channels watch the same thing. I like watching all kinds of different stuff because I mean, like I've said before, there's not really a genre I just hate. I can find something in pretty much every genre that I can enjoy. So I like switching around. I'll watch a big box office hit, or I'll watch some niche thing that like only a few people know about and enjoy it. But problem is, numbers got to be there, or the money's not there because you get paid per view. So I'm dreading making that announcement because I know people are going to be disappointed, but not much I can do about it right now. I think a mix is nice, like popular poll-winning titles with the occasional forgotten gem. One reactor I watch has a once a month patron pick, which usually is something distinctly different. Yeah, I like really mixing things up, like having a really popular blockbuster and then like a smaller niche film that less people know about, going from like an action film to a rom-com, you know, drama, just all over the place. I like all kinds of different stuff. Because I think it would get kind of old if you just watch the same thing all the time, never switch it up. That's why I don't just watch Westerns, even though Westerns, like, even though that's my favorite genre and I love them, I would never want to watch a Western every week because I'm afraid I would get tired of it and it would get kind of monotonous, even though I love them and it's my favorite genre. So I keep it at once a month with the Westerns to always keep it fresh and exciting when I get to watch a Western. Yeah, burnout is real, Tyrone, especially when you have 3 jobs. I am like permanently a week behind on my life, it feels like, because I'm working 3 jobs. So exhaustion definitely plays a factor. Yeah, Gary, there's a lot of movies that like weren't hits at the box office, but then they become big hits later on cable. It's really interesting how that happens. Yeah, B-dubs, it's funny you say that because I just saw a post on Instagram this morning. It was a quote from Dr. Seuss that said, "You have to be odd to be number one." You get it? Michael, that's hilarious. You could get gimmicky, react with your horse, have him talk with AI. Oh, that would be funny. Watching movies with my horse. Champion would be so bored. He would be like, what are we doing right now? He would just stand there and eat the whole time. Munch, munch. Champion, are you watching? Yes, I'm watching. He's definitely not watching, he's just eating grass. I was really looking forward to drawing Steve McQueen today because I feel like he has really interesting features. And I thought it would be an interesting and fun challenge. Because obviously I've never drawn him before, so first time. First time drawing somebody's always exciting. You're right, B-dubs. He's not bad looking. He's good looking, but he's not just like one of those drop dead gorgeous stop you in your tracks kind of guys, but he easily, yes, makes up for it with the charisma. When someone has a lot of charisma, it just makes them a lot more attractive, even if like they're just kind of okay in terms of appearance. But beauty is also in the eye of the beholder. You know, 10 girls think this guy over here is super attractive, and 10 other girls will disagree and say that the other guy is more attractive. So it really depends on your taste. Yeah, Ellen, I mean, I kind of like that Steve McQueen doesn't have like he doesn't look like a model. He just looks like a real guy. Oh, there's so many guys today that people just think are like amazing and they hung the moon, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I don't find them attractive at all. But you do you. Ryan Gosling, yeah, girls have made a big deal about him for a long time. He's okay. I've never really watched any of his movies as far as I can recall. So, honestly, I mean, I just see him because he's so famous. He's around, like, on the internet all the time, but I haven't really watched any of his movies. He's alright. Not bad looking. McQueen or Gregory Peck from The Big Country? What am I comparing them? Like, what am I picking for? If I'm picking in terms of who I personally find more attractive, it's easily Gregory Peck. It's just my type, tall, dark, and handsome. I did really enjoy Roman Holiday, Gary. We'll definitely be watching that one again sometime. And how it resolved, how it ended really surprised me. I was like sad, but I think it was a really mature and neat way to end it, not the typical rom-com ending. You're so right, Michael. Peck had that gravitas lacking, and so many pretty boy actors today. He could play any kind of complex character. Absolutely correct. Yep, there's a distinct lack of traditional masculinity in today's movies, and it's disappointing. They think masculinity is toxic these days. We can't have that. two Hitchcock films I have not seen. Spellbound or The Paradine Case, is that how you say it? I haven't seen either of those. That would be interesting to see Gregory Peck in a Alfred Hitchcock movie. I have not seen him in one of Hitchcock's films yet. Why can I not say that today? Wow. I heard that they are remaking Bullitt apparently, and it just made me viscerally angry. I'm so tired. Like Hollywood is so out of ideas. They just keep remaking everything and or doing a sequel to something, like keeping the same franchises going. And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, they have no new ideas." It's so disappointing. They said they were gonna have like Bradley Cooper playing Bullitt, which I like Bradley Cooper. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, no. No. I mean, other than Marvel, like when was the last time that we had just a huge blockbuster film where it like made a star? Like the Marvel films have gone downhill now, but they made stars out of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, like that everybody knew, household names, but like where is that right now? It's almost like we're kind of in a post movie star era. Like they're used to just I know B-dubs. I know Robert Downey Jr. was already pretty well known, but Tony Stark took him to the next level. It was like where even the kids know and love him. Maybe I don't know. Maybe social media has something to do with it too, where it's like before social media, movie stars could kind of have some privacy and we weren't like hearing from them all the time and hearing their opinions on things. I feel like social media kind of demystified everyone, and it's almost like we're in just kind of a post-movie star era, if that makes sense. Yeah, B-dubs. Way too much overexposure of everything and everyone, so it's kind of like everyone's under this spotlight and everyone's judging everything that everyone does. It's just... I've said it before, but humans were not made to know what was happening around the world all the time with everyone and everything. It's very overwhelming on the human mind, and it's just not how we were created to function. And it's like you have to have an opinion on everything, or people judge you for not having an opinion, and it's just like, oh my gosh, can everyone chill? Yeah, Scarlett Johansson was already a star for sure. Great actress. Yeah, Marvel had its time, and I don't know if that's ever going to come back, to be honest. I feel like it all kind of ended with Endgame, pardon the pun. It was like the end of an era, and I don't think they're ever going to reach that level again. I think there's kind of a superhero burnout for one, and two, the quality has just gone downhill with Marvel films and shows. And so I don't see it ever being what it was before. I feel like a lot of people are hopping off the bandwagon. And I'm saying that as a Marvel fan. I was at those premieres. My butt was in the theater seat. I was there. Like, I was loving it. And then it was like after Endgame, I was like, oh no. Oh dear. Same thing with Star Wars. I was on board until The Rise of Skywalker came out, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, we just butchered everything. It was going well. You know, The Force Awakens and Last Jedi weren't perfect, but I at least enjoyed them. And again, I had my issues, but then Rise of Skywalker came out, and I was like, oh no, Star Wars is like dead. They just killed it. So, yeah, it's a shame because I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. I've always loved it. It's one of my all-time favorite things, and I just don't even watch it anymore. It was like I tried to hang on because there was the occasional good project like The Mandalorian. Um, but even that went downhill. Like season 3, I was like, yikes, what is happening? Season 1 and 2, really good. Season 3, uh-oh. Yeah, you're right, B-dubs. It's the writing. And not that early Marvel movies didn't have their issues either. Like nothing, like none of it was perfect, but they were enjoyable and well done. Characters were likable, relatable, stories were good, villains were good, and then it was just like, I don't know, tanked. Yep, it's true. Writing makes or breaks a movie, because if the story sucks, then everything's going to suck. Yeah, those quick cash grabs are not working out for them. They're losing a lot more money. I just heard yesterday that they canceled The Acolyte after one season because they were, like, no one was watching. It's like, quit trying to pump out shows quickly with no quality instead of taking your time and making some good stuff. It the streaming stuff could have been so good. Could have been a whole nother world for Star Wars fans to get into, but it was just like, I don't know, that if you don't make it good, people aren't going to watch. Yeah, when you overload people, it's just, people are going to get burnout. People are going to get tired of it. The quality declines because you're trying to pump out too much content. They get greedy. Kind of interested to see what happens with Disney, to be honest, because they have not had a lot of just big successes lately. And I know they'll always have that huge profit coming in from Disney World and Disneyland and all of that, but they've had a lot of projects just tank in recent years, and I just wonder how much money they've lost, because I bet it's a ton. You're right, Alan. The Hobbit, yeah, did not need to be 3 movies. And they just put all that stuff in there that was not in the book, changed stuff that made me angry. Don't get me started. Love Tolkien. Lord of the Rings is like my favorite book, and love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's my favorite movie trilogy of all time. The first Hobbit film I thought was good. They changed stuff, which, whatever, but really enjoyed the first film, and it went downhill from there. Gary, do you mean a book 2 or a book 3? Because book 2 in my series is coming out in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, September 4th. But if you mean a book 3, yes. I will be starting book 3 in the next few months. Yeah, book 3 is going to be happening, Gary. I don't have like a particular release date in mind. It's just too early for that. But if I had to guess, I would say probably 2026 when that comes out, because it's going to be a rather long story and big, like large scale. much more large scale than the plot in book 2 and book 1, to be honest. It's going to be big. So it's going to take me a while, and I'm going to take my time with it and make it as good as I can, not rush it. So I would say sometime 2026, but I don't know. Yeah, B-dubs, The Hobbit did not even really look good. It was, I mean, Lord of the Rings looks so gorgeous even today because so much of it was practical. I know they were doing a lot of digital stuff in the large, like, battle sequences and stuff. You have to. But The Hobbit was a CGI fest, and it was depressing. It was like the orcs looked worse. Like, they didn't look as good as they did in Lord of the Rings. And I'm just like, what is happening here? We're like 10 years later, and the visual effects look worse. Ugh, I can't with CGI. Yeah. When you have non-creative people in charge of creative people, you get Marvel/Disney today. Yeah. Yeah. When you got studio execs running everything, who are just, I mean, but really though, you would think that the executives would say, you know, let the creative people do their thing and then we'll make more money. But they think they know better when it comes to making money, and they keep making terrible projects that tank. Yeah, I bet Tolkien's rolling in his grave. Don't get me started on the Rings of Power. I mean, oh my gosh. Not touching that thing with a 100-foot pole. They just, I mean, they straight up admitted basically that Rings of Power is Tolkien fan fiction, and they're just butchering everything. Because Tolkien Estate has just, I mean, Christopher Tolkien passed away, I believe, and so it's just not in good hands anymore. And I hate how that can happen to an author's work after they're gone. Like, other people can just take it and try to profit off of it and just totally lose the essence of what it was. But you know what? I guess it doesn't matter. Like, they can't taint the original content. That will always be there. And it's just for people to decide what they want to watch and what they want to read. One thing I am quite excited about, speaking of fantasy, I don't know if we have any gamers here in the chat, but I am a huge Dragon Age fan, fantasy video game series, and it has been 10 years since the last one came out, and the next one is finally coming out in October. It's coming out on Halloween. I'm so excited because they left me on a major cliffhanger in the last one, and I've been waiting 10 years to find out how this is going to resolve. And hopefully with them taking this long to produce the game, it will be a good story with good characters, good writing. That's all I can hope for. But I've learned, don't go in with ridiculously high expectations, or you will be disappointed. So I'm just going in hoping to enjoy it, have a blast. I've been so busy that the last time I played a new video game was when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out at the end of 2018. Literally 6 years since I've like sat down and played through a video game, which is crazy because I've always been such a big gamer my whole life. But I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna manage it, but I've got to make time to play the new Dragon Age game because I gotta know what happens. It's always so much fun too, playing those games. Thanks, Tyrone. I hope Steve would like this portrait of himself as well. I would be so nervous if I was showing these portraits to the people I'm drawing. Ugh. Stressful. Okay, I'm going to sharpen this. Michael. Pac-Man is actually one of the last video games I played. When I went to Gatlinburg last year on vacation, they had a Pac-Man machine in the little house we were staying in. And I was like, oh my gosh, Pac-Man, I have not played in so long, and so naturally family competition ensued, which I'm happy to report I was the victor. ASMR pencil scratching. I hope it's more like ASMR B-dubs and not like annoying to people. I think it is louder B-dubs. I was saying earlier, I got a new Conte pencil because, you know, the other one was dying. It was too short to use anymore. So I got a new one, and I think the new one is louder and much scratchier sounding. But the upside is I think it's going to be better with sharpening it. Like, it's not going to break off so easily. I think it's a little bit tougher than the other one was. Well, Alan, I mean, I think it's a different brand, even though I get what Hobby Lobby has. I'm not like a snobby artist who has to get these very specific things. I just get what Hobby Lobby has, and they switched out what they had. So it's the same, like it is a 2B pencil, just like the other one was. But I mean, obviously this one's black. The other one was like tan. So I don't know. I don't know. But it's definitely louder. Last video games I was hooked on was Knockout Rings and Star Wars Jedi Power Battles and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I don't know if I ever played Jedi Power Battles. That sounds familiar, but I don't remember playing that one. Maybe my brother did. I grew up playing all the Star Wars games that were coming out. So much fun. The best one being Knights of the Old Republic. Fantastic. Based on Phantom Menace. Okay. B-dubs, I did play a game with my brother because we grew up playing video games together. I remember playing one with him that was Phantom Menace based. Maybe it was that one. He was always Plo Koon, and I was, the lady with the red lightsaber. I think it was like Adi Gallia or something. Can't remember. But I think she was like the only female character in that game. Or maybe it was Stas Alley. I get them all confused. Because there's like 2 female Jedi that look very similar. Do you have a PC game you played? I used to play a lot of PC games, Gary. Not in a long time. The last PC game I played was Star Wars The Old Republic, which is probably like 10 years ago now that I was playing that. But yeah, I mean, growing up, I played computer games all the time. I played PlayStation, like Game Boy, PC, I mean, everything. Tyrone, I can't remember which side of the brain it is, but I mean, there's like a particular section of the brain that's like the creative version, and or the creative section, and I would assume that's what lights up when people draw. And probably whatever section of the brain does problem solving, because that's all art is problem solving. Because you're constantly like, okay, what's wrong here? What's looking right? What do I need to leave alone? What's finished? What's not finished? And what is the issue here? Like, something's out of place. Yeah, B-dubs. Plo Koon had a yellow lightsaber. I was talking about whichever character I was using had a red lightsaber, which obviously canon and stuff changed over the years because Jedi never had red lightsabers, but in that game she did. 2 crossword puzzles on newspaper websites count. That's my speed these days. Alan, you know what? You do you. Crossword puzzles are good for the mind and entertaining, so you know what? Whatever's your speed, do it. Oh yeah, Gary. I grew up playing lots of Mario Kart. Basically, my brother trained me well in the art of video games from the time I was about 4 years old. I grew up losing to him. almost every time, which then made me very good because I had to learn how to beat him. He was very good, and so then whenever I would play against friends and stuff later on, I beat everyone, and it was great. Growing up, I was always Bowser in the Nintendo 64 version of Mario Kart, and then my brother was Wario. But now, in the modern Mario Kart versions, I play as Link because I am a lifelong Legend of Zelda fan. And so as soon as they added Link, I was like, oh, I'm switching. I grew up playing Smash Brothers too, Super Smash Brothers, and I was always Link in those games. Legend of Zelda is like my childhood. It's like one of the most nostalgic things for me. Grew up playing that since I was like 4 and 5. Scared the crap out of me as a kid, but it was fun. It taught me how to do a lot of different puzzles and things, and it teaches you how to be brave because those games will scare the crap out of you as a kid. They didn't pull any punches. Oh my gosh, my parents are obsessed with Wordle. They do it every day. I've never played it because I just think I would get angry and frustrated. I'm super competitive. Don't like losing at anything. Oh, Gary, I don't even count. I don't even count. I don't know, but it's basically from the time I get up every day till I go to bed. Pretty much. I take that back. I usually take like a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours in the evening to relax and like watch a rodeo or watch a baseball game, something like that. But so I would say at least like from the time I get up till like dinner time, I'm working, even on the weekends. Yeah, Saturdays, like I don't really think of I don't even think of weekends really. Sunday's really my only day I take off. I go to church and go to lunch with my family and everything, but Saturday, I treat it like a weekday. I just work all day. Because despite how much I work, I'm never caught up on stuff. I'm always either working on a new art piece or writing, on one of my books, or I'm filming a YouTube video, editing a YouTube video, or let's see. I mean, just there's so much administrative stuff to take care of, like sending out emails, posting stuff on social media. I mean, social media is like a requirement as an artist and an author because you have to put your stuff out there and promote yourself and all that. That takes a lot of hours in the day. And then somewhere in there each week I have to fit in a trip to the barn, go see my horse, ride my horse. So life is crazy. I mean, if I didn't love it though, I wouldn't do it. Like, it's work, but it isn't because I'm doing what I love. So I give it my all, I give it 100%. Yeah, Alan, it's all about finding the balance of like what you can do and what's too much, because you don't want to burn out and you don't want to overwork yourself. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you, and it's different for everybody. Like how many hours can you draw in a day? Some people will draw like 8 or 10 hours in a day, and or at least 6. I don't know how they do it. Kind of the max for me is like maybe 4 hours in a day, and that'll make my hand pretty tired. And I see a lot of people, like a lot of artists struggle early with like carpal tunnel and stuff, and I don't want to lose my hand. I want to keep my hand in as good a shape as I can, for as long as I can. So I try not to go over like 4 hours in a day on the art part, because that'll make your hand pretty tired. So I do that because I want to keep my hand in good shape for as long as I can, and once I hit that 4 hour limit, I'll go work on something else that's not art related, like writing or something with YouTube, or just, like I said, administrative stuff that I have to take care of, social media, all that. So and sleep, sleep cannot be overstated. That is so important for recharging, being able to go back at it again the next day. I'm not the artist stereotype of like staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. and working through the night and like working till the sun comes up the next morning. I don't do that because I just don't, I mean, that's not good for you. So I try to get between, I try to do about 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every night, and that's what works for me. If I get less, I feel it the next day, where it's like, I did not get enough sleep last night. Yeah, Gary, I mean, it's it's ideal to get to do something you love, because even when it's a really long, hard day, you're still doing what you love and what you were created to do, like your passion. Alan, that's funny. See, like for me, I don't ever want to retire. I hope I don't ever have to, because I can't imagine ever not writing or not drawing. Like it's my job, but also it's what I love to do. So like I can't imagine ever retiring from that. I would have to like lose function of my hand. I would have to get really bad arthritis or something, you know, and that would have to make me quit. Same thing with horse riding too. Like there's a couple of barrel racers that are really high in the rankings this year, and they're like in their 60s, and they're still out there killing it. And I'm like, that I want that to be me. Like I want to still be riding horses when I'm in my 60s, my 70s, maybe even my 80s. Like I wouldn't be doing anything crazy, just like still trail riding and stuff. I hope I am. Let's see. I think this one's coming along pretty good, guys. I get that, B-dubs, but I love writing. I love typing. I don't handwrite with pencils. I just type on my laptop, and I love doing that. I would never want to have to narrate everything I was saying. Because for one, it's going to make a bunch of typos. Like when you're doing dialogue and stuff, it would make so many errors I would have to go in and correct. Yeah, I wouldn't like that. And like you have to do so much thinking in your head of like what sentence you're gonna write, and then you go in and type it, you look at it, you keep tweaking it. Like imagine having to say it every time you're tweaking it. Like wouldn't be for me. It might work for some people, but I can't imagine like writing out loud. I would hate that. Some authors dictate onto tape or audio files. Yeah, They definitely do, Alan. I wouldn't like that. I love the personal and private act of creating. Like, I don't have anyone type out my stuff for me or do any of that. I just like sitting, at my desk, and that process of just putting it all down on, I started to say paper, but on my computer screen myself, and doing all of that without, I don't know. I don't have anyone, like what I do is I write the whole first draft, and actually as I'm writing each chapter, I send it off to my cousin who's my beta reader, and she gives me the first ever feedback, like as I'm working through the first draft. And then once I have that whole first draft completed, then I send it off to my editor. And that's when the revising process begins. Honestly, typing is not hard on my hands at all because I do it very slowly. Like, I'm a fast typer, but I type so intermittently because, like, I'll go write a sentence, and then it's like, huh. I'll sit there and think for like 5 minutes, and then I'll type another sentence, and then like sit there and think. Like, I'm not a speed writer. Some authors like sit and they're like like just nonstop for several minutes. I can't do that. I write one sentence at a time, and I'm very meticulous about it. Not a sprint writer at all. I ponder a lot and plan a lot while I'm writing, so I'm very slow when I'm sitting there actually like typing it out. I can't do like stream of consciousness writing like a lot of people do, and they just boom, like there's a chapter. Like they've written a chapter in a few hours. I can't do that. Oh, Gary, I get edited a lot. What I'm really good about is I don't make a lot of typos. I make some typos, but not a lot. I self edit really well. But when my editor comes in, like she'll catch the typos and everything and proofread, but that's not what I hire her to do, because like my dad could proofread for me because he's a court reporter. That's like what he does all day. He could proofread. I don't use my editor for that. What I use her for is for the content. Like, she critiques my plot, my character arcs, like my characters, are they coming across the way I want them to? Are people going to relate to them and empathize with them? That's what she's for. That's what my editor is for. And she always has a lot to say that's very helpful. Like, you would not believe if you saw my first draft compared to my second and third draft, a lot changes. On the first book, a lot changed, and a lot changed on the second book as well. That's just the writing process. The first draft is just getting the plot, like the story in your head, down on paper for the first time. You can't worry about making it as good as it can be at that point. You're just trying to get it out of your head, down on the paper. And you want it to be good, but like inevitably the first draft is not going to be near as good as the later drafts. You just need another pair of eyes to help you. So, all that to say, I love my editor. She's great. And she doesn't rewrite my book for me. What she does is because a lot of people think of an editor as like they go in and rewrite the book for you, and like they're kind of the ghost author, and maybe that's the case for a lot of people, but in my case, she goes through my whole manuscript and she puts comments. Like, she'll highlight something and put a comment out to the side, like, this doesn't make sense, or there's an inconsistency here, or I don't think this character should do this, or whatever. And then, like, she doesn't rewrite anything for me. I look at her comments, I read through them all, and then I go back and make the changes as I see fit. Like, oh yeah, she had a good point here, or no, I don't agree with her here, and I leave it the way it was, which I do sometimes, but most of the time I'm like, yeah, she had a good point here, I should change that. And I go in and rewrite it, or I delete stuff, or I go in and, like, sometimes I go in and add a whole chapter that wasn't there because there was something that needed more explaining. So just depends. Yeah, Alan, you can definitely get into a trap if you start editing too much. You gotta know when it's good enough, as good as you can make it at that time, and then send it out into the world. You know, I do like several drafts, few rounds of editing, and then I'm like, okay, it's going out into the world. And because I have a tendency to be perfectionistic, and I can just work on something and work on something, and you don't want to overwork it. Like, you have to kind of get to a point where you can recognize, like, this is done. And that's when you just have to step away from it, and you know you're probably going to see something later, like whether it's months or years down the road. That's just the way it is. Nothing we make is going to be perfect. You just make it as good as you can at the time that you're making it. Had to come to that realization with art. And it's the same for writing. I'm sorry, this pencil is so loud, guys. It's gonna be loud because I have to get in this black area here. Okay, there, I'm done for now. I'm sorry. Can't wait for Cimarron Dove, my next book, to be out in just a couple of weeks. It's been 2 years in the making, and I can't wait for people to read it. You always get very excited and very nervous when you have a new book coming out, because you're like, oh, I can't wait for people to read it. But then the little voice in the back of your head is like, what if they hate it? What if they all hate it? And you're like, no. Yep, it's true, Gary. You can't please everyone. There's always going to be someone that hates your book, so better to just accept that and move on. But yeah, it always feels great to get a good review on your book. And to see that, like, proportionally way more people love your book than the people who don't like it. That's always nice. But yeah, you just have to accept that not everyone's going to like your books and not everyone's going to like your art. So that's something you got to get used to, is kind of just brushing off criticism, knowing when to listen to criticism and when not to. If it's someone whose opinion you really value, it's different than some random person on the internet who just is trolling. Exactly, Alan. Yeah, something you learn in art school is how to take criticism, because you're going to get a lot of it from your professors. Not so much other students sometimes, but mostly from your professors, and they do not hold back. And you got to get used to, I mean, we would do critiques after every art project. We would all gather and we would spend a couple of hours critiquing everyone's projects, their paintings, their drawings, sculpture, whatever. And usually we were pretty nice to each other because we all knew, like, we didn't want to, like, beat each other up. But the professors would not hold back as much as we would. And they would tell you, like, what was wrong with it and what you needed to do better on. And it wasn't a bad thing, you know? You gotta have people with objective eyes looking at your writing and your art to be able to give you some good advice on, like, how it can be better. Like, criticism in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's how is it delivered, and is the intention there to help or to harm. But yeah, you can't get through art school if you don't have a thick skin. I mean, I guess you could, but you're going to be suffering. Like, better to develop the thick skin. Don't take it personally. Just take it or leave it and try to get better. And accept that there's always going to be room for improvement. There's never going to be a point where you reach, like, where your stuff is perfect and it can't get better. That's just never going to happen. So always have a mindset of, like, learning and trying to get better, and learning and watching from, you know, other artists. And not so much a competitive mindset either, is like or being jealous, like they're better than me. Instead, looking at it like, what are they doing that I can incorporate to do what I do better? Like, you're not trying to be them, you're trying to do what you do better. Because everyone's style is just a little bit different. And the process of working. Yeah, Gary. I haven't gotten a 1-star review yet, but I've gotten like 1 2-star and a few 3-stars. And what I've noticed is like the 4 and 5-star reviews are always like they'll put like a paragraph of what they loved or enjoyed about it, and then none of the ones that have been lower have offered like any explanation as to why they didn't like it, what was wrong with it. They just left a bad rating and moved on. So then it feels more like a troll. Where you're like, okay, why didn't you say what was wrong with it or what you didn't like about it, instead of just like leaving a bad rating and moving on? But what can you do? Okay, guys, I'm to the point where I'm starting to study and be like, okay, what do I need to do to finish this? That's great, Alan, that you got awards. That means a lot more than some reviewer giving you a bomb review. You guys ever heard the Man in the Arena speech from Theodore Roosevelt? If you haven't, you need to go and read it as soon as this live stream is over, because it is inspiring. It's not the critic who counts. 10 more minutes, guys. We're in the home stretch. Really like the texture of his coat. Yes, Gary, I've heard of it, Mr. Ed, but I never watched it. I maybe saw like a glimpse of it a couple of times when like my parents would show me that on TV, but like I never watched it. My dad thought it was hilarious. I feel like he was the one who would show me, not my mom. That's funny, Alan. I haven't seen The Great Escape yet, but I'll definitely have to get to it. Because I really like Steve McQueen, um, and I want to watch more of his movies. Had a lot of fun with this drawing, guys. Some of them were a little stressful, like trying to get it just right. Like I think John Wayne is the hardest one I've done so far. But McQueen was just a lot of fun to draw. It's funny how that happens. Some portraits you do are just really challenging for some reason, and then others just seem to flow better. Thank you, Alan. Gary, my list of movies is never ending. I am always getting new recommendations from people that I'm like, ooh, I've never even heard of this movie, and this sounds really interesting. So there's definitely lots of material for years to come, I would say. All right, guys, it is 1 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. I love talking with y'all. Talking and drawing. Thanks, as always, for being here. Where do I want to sign this? And do I want to, do I want to do a white signature or a black signature? You know what? I think I might go charcoal on this one. There we go. I like that. It kind of blends. It doesn't stand out too much. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching and hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this live stream drawing. I know I did. McQueen was a lot of fun to draw, I have to say. So, yeah, I will see you guys next Wednesday for another Patron Portrait live stream. Also, just a heads up, 2 weeks from now is book release day, so I'll probably do like just a YouTube live stream, not drawing, but just like a chat and hang out live stream to talk about the book and answer any questions and just hang out with you guys. I don't know if it's going to be a Patreon exclusive or if I'll just put it on YouTube, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know. So no portrait live stream a couple weeks from now on the 4th, just a hangout stream. But next week I'll be back with another patron portrait. So I will see you guys then. Have a great day.